Behinderung anstecken kann.
Oh, Alter, ehrlich jetzt?
Ja, und dass Frauen, die ein behindertes
Kind,
ein behindertes Kind gebären, werden generell von ihrem Mann verlassen.
Alter.
Haben aber auch keine Möglichkeit, das Kind alleine aufzuziehen, weil sie keine staatliche Unterstützung bekommen. Das heißt, das Kind...
Bro, she's smoking, she's finishing a cigarette. She's warming up as well. Yeah.
Sorry, muss ich mich beeilen?
Nein, Quatsch, nimm dir Zeit. Nein. Wir wollen eine entspannte Atmosphäre hier bilden, deswegen.
Kacke aus?
Nein, überhaupt nicht. Nein, komplett gut. Ja.
Das bringt mich komplett aus dem Konzept.
Wir machen das so, ich mache das Introduction und mache das Reden. Und dann frage ich dich einfach Fragen und...
Ja, aber das kann im Endeffekt immer noch geschnitten werden.
Ja, genau, ja, natürlich. Aber das Gespräch wird ziemlich natürlich sein.
Ja.
Und wenn du mich was fragst und ich nicht weiß, die Antwort ist I don't know. Ne? Also, wir versuchen das richtig natürlich zu halten, so natürlich wie möglich, weil das am authentischen
auf jeden Fall.
immer ist.
Ich meine, ich kenne das ja selber. Also ich weiß ja die Videos, die ich auf YouTube angucke.
Achso, hast du auch schon YouTube-Videos gesehen vorher? Ja.
Nee.
Achso, noch nie.
Teil hat mir auf der Farm gezeigt. Das war so krass, weil der war so dünn.
Ja.
Also der hat vielleicht so viel gewogen wie ich.
Ja.
Das Gesicht war so richtig so.
Oh, Kyle meinst du jetzt?
Ja, ich habe den überhaupt nicht wiedererkannt.
Ja.
So.
Interessant.
Aber auf jeden Fall, diese Organisation engagiert sich halt für Menschen mit Behinderung. Also zum Beispiel, die haben jetzt das erste Tageszentrum, Russland ist riesig, weißt du, in ganz Russland errichtet. Das heißt, 25 Mütter haben die Möglichkeit, ihr Kind bei sich zu behalten und trotzdem arbeiten zu gehen.
Komm mal.
Und das ist halt ein Riesending, weil sobald die in einem Heim sind, die bekommen keine Schulbildung, die bekommen keine Erziehung, die bekommen gar nichts. Also auch wenn die sprechen könnten, die können nicht sprechen, weil niemand es ihnen beibringt.
German.
He does German. Wow.
Pretty close though.
He surprises me every day.
Yeah. So she's done with the cigarette. I'm just going to do an introduction. And the point is we want to have a very natural conversation, very easy, welcoming. She's going to talk about her experiences, I'll go talk about my experiences. And it's about the image of God and how it had an impact on us all together. We will try. Yeah.
Muss ich mich da hindrehen?
Ja, ein bisschen. Am Anfang. Ja.
Salam TV. Is it on TV?
Are you ready?
What is this about?
Also ich schätze das ziemlich doll, dass du dich überwindest und so. Okay, let's go. Oh, nie?
Aber bis wo sieht man das denn?
Die Maske auf. Oh. Hier, also halt nur Körper. Oberkörper.
So, nur hier.
Where are we in the frame?
We are.
Here. Okay, beautiful.
Free Palestine, yeah?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I'm here with Nina. She's been here to visit the UK. And Nina and I, we had a very, very beautiful conversation that I found very personal, including myself. I've gone through this myself. We were talking about sort of the nature and the image that we have of God, and how sometimes that can have a negative impact, or I wouldn't say negative, but it has an impact on us and the way we view God. And I found that conversation very, very deep, because there's loads and loads of people who go through this, you know, the way they view God. And you were saying something along the lines of the image of God was the white man with long hair in the cloud. So how did that impact your relationship to religion?
Well, I grew up in a Catholic family.
Yeah.
And like everybody was pretty Catholic.
Okay.
But I was more forced than my parents actually were Catholic. They thought it was kind of good for me or something.
Yeah.
But in any kind, like when I went to the mass,
Yeah.
when I went to the mass or to some like children, teenager groups,
Yeah.
it was always the picture of the white man with the long beard.
Yeah.
Then the first thing I wondered was like, it is like they say you shouldn't make a picture of God.
Yeah.
But why is this picture of God so present?
Yeah. Interesting.
And this was what makes me wonder the first time.
Yeah.
Like if you can't make a picture, why do I have as a little child the picture of an old white man with a long beard? You know? And it's like, yeah.
And do you think that how being in that sort of that mind frame of basically you objectify God, right? So you've put boundaries around God. God now has limbs, and God has a face. Do you think that there's loads of other like people who have that issue as well when it comes to their relationship to God? I mean, your friends or your peers or.
Well, I think in the Catholic Church, yeah.
Yeah.
I think loads and loads of people have that. I don't think that it's so present in other religions that they
Yeah.
make a specific picture of God. But in my religion, it's pretty common. It's very, very common, and you don't even like. I don't know. I think if I would have said as a child in my church group that I think God is a woman,
Yeah.
and God may is Asian or any other nationality, then it would be very, very strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was hard to distance myself from this point of view.
So you distant yourself from the image,
Yeah.
but you kept the belief to God.
Yeah.
Interesting, very interesting, because that's a very complex thing to do, right? To still believe in God, because unfortunately, what I find with a lot of people is like, well, I don't believe in this myth whatsoever. I don't believe in God. If this is God, then I don't believe in God. You know, I find that quite with loads of people.
But I mean, it's the same about Jesus.
Yeah.
It's the same about Jesus.
Sure.
Like in all the books and everywhere where you can see Jesus, he's the white man with long hair. But in the end, Jesus was Arabic.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
When you believe all the stories and everything, like just say you believe what is written in the Bible
Sure.
and where the coming from, then Jesus was an Arabic person.
Yeah.
And not a white person
Yeah.
with long blonde hair.
Yeah.
You know?
Like a Semitic person having
Yeah.
Jewish ancestry. Yeah. It's very interesting, because but then there's other people who would argue to say, well, every nation depicts God the way they look. You know, I think with the Islamic position is that they're very strict when it comes to depicting God. And I believe that was also the case in the Old Testament. Very interesting. I don't know if you know about this, but I think this is like 10th century. There was this debate between Christians in Europe. It was the icon wars or something like this, and it had to do with iconography. And the Christians were questioning themselves, and they're like, well, perhaps the reason why we're losing so much land to the Muslims is because we're depicting God. So we're not allowed to depict God, and therefore we must get rid of all the icons.
So it was kind of a burden from God.
Yeah.
Because they depicted
Yeah. It's very, very famous. And so...
but how, like, I'm not really, I don't really know, like, how do people in Islam,
Sure.
Muslims, depict God?
Yeah.
Like, how does he look like for them?
So the nature of God in Islam is very, very distinct and very descriptive, in a sense that God in Islam it's not ultimately or absolutely transcendent, not absolutely immanent. So God is not far away.
Yeah.
And, you know, like sort of like Spinoza, he believes, well, nature is God. God is in nature, but like we can't actually communicate with him.
Yeah.
Like God is not like that. But then God is also not in like ants and
In everything.
in everything,
Yeah.
right? So the way we describe God, or God describes himself, in fact, so it's a bit of negative theology. He says, there's nothing unlike me, you know? So God is not, he has no boundaries. God does not possess a body, you know? So the way we usually communicate with God is through prayers or through actions. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about when you went to the farm. You see, someone, so when, for example, there's hadith, narrations, but God says, if a person does such and such action, he becomes closer to me.
Yeah.
And that closeness is feeling his presence. Not physically, but the presence of God in the world that you exist. You know? So that's very, like this extraordinary.
It's widespread.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I think like everybody has his own way to get closer to God.
Yeah.
For some people, it is to visit the Mass. For some people, it is to kind of try to make other things believe the same.
Yeah.
It's like it's very diverse.
Yeah.
And like everybody understands something different.
Sure.
Something different in what brings you closer to God.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was at the farm, like before I went to the farm.
If you just sort of viewers explain what the farm was about and what you were doing, so they know. So what was the farm about and what were you doing there?
So the farm is about, it's actually called Catholic Worker Farm.
Yeah.
And when I heard the name, I was kind of like, my organization wanted me to go there.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, when I heard the name, I was like,
What, Catholic?
Kind of distance.
Yeah.
You know. But this actually came from which experience I had before with the Christian belief.
Yeah.
Like my experience wasn't that good. Like
Okay.
my family forced me to go to church, but I didn't want it to.
Yeah.
And then I went to a school,
Yeah.
which was like run by nuns, and the nuns didn't make it bad, but my school time was very bad. Not
Yeah.
because of the nuns, but it was very
Sure.
bad. So all the experience I had with Christianity were really, really bad. So when I heard my organization saying like, yeah, you're going to the Catholic Worker
Sure.
Farm to volunteer there, was like, no.
Yeah, no, I don't do this religion thing. Yeah.
No, I was like, in my head, it was like, okay, I have to pray all the day, and,
Yeah.
and we are selecting the people who are coming to us and
Sure.
everything. So it was very bad. But actually, the Catholic Worker Farm was something completely different. It was a place which gave home
Yeah.
to women and women with children
Sure.
who became homeless.
Okay.
And it could be out of a lot of different reasons. It could be because of domestic violence.
Yeah.
It could be because they arrived in the country and nobody took care of them.
Sure.
Like there are so many different stories.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the fact that it didn't depend on where the person is coming from, which religion the person
Sure.
has, and which story the person has, we took them. And this is what made me overthink
Sure.
my point of view on Christian religion,
Yeah.
the Christian belief.
Yeah.
Because in the end, what I also learned from my manager is like, in the end, God is love.
Yeah.
And this was a very, very, very important and a very interesting thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because God is love.
Yeah.
And also if there was something wrong on the farm or something like that, my
Yeah.
manager wasn't like, oh my God, this woman is bad. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
No judgment passed.
No judgment. And also like, there was not like, we had Muslim women, we had Jewish women,
Yeah.
we had women from every kind of religion.
Sure.
And it was not at all a part of this project to kind of confirm.
Ja.
Do you say it like that?
Confirm, wie meinst du das? Bestätigen?
Jemanden dazu bewegen, denselben Glauben zu haben.
Or to convert, or to convert
It
someone.
was not at all a part of
Proselytization, no one.
like,
Yeah.
we accepted their belief.
Yeah.
We lived their belief with them, and this was very impressive. Because for me, the Catholic Church was just like force,
Yeah.
and it was like a picture of
Forced
male
conversion.
people
Yeah.
dominating everything, male
Sure.
white people dominating everything.
Yeah.
It was just like, but after this experience, I just have another relationship to God. Yeah.
Beautiful. You know what you're saying is so profound, because you know when you ask me about the nature of God, is that you say God is love because He's so love and He's so caring, right? You're like, well, I'm going to a Catholic organization, and they're claiming, right? That's what you think, they're claiming to help the unfortunate.
Yeah.
You get there and you see that it's actually about the help. It's about contribution, and they're not just contributing to Catholics. So they're not discriminating. They're helping everyone else.
Yeah.
And then it's very profound. So by doing the action, you're also coming closer to God. And you were asking me about the conception of God in Islam. Now, we understand God in many ways, but then if you look in terms of its theology, we understand God through His names and His attributes. Attributes, His character. So for example, when you say God is love, we say, it's not the same translation, but God is love. We would say Allah or God is Ar-Rahman, so He's merciful. Allah is Al-Qahar, He's very powerful. He's all-knowing, right? I'm trying to think of names.
So He has a lot of different names.
Yeah, so He has names and
attributes.
Yeah, and attributes, and those attributes describe His quality. And the reason why we know of these is because we live in a sort of like materialistic world, and I'm not talking about the ideology, but I'm talking about just the fact that there's physical space. Yeah. And like physical space between me and you, and we have body and bones.
Okay.
So in terms to understand that which is beyond body, bone, and spirit, these names are there because how do you understand what mercy is? By doing mercy, by being merciful. And this is exactly what you did. You were helping people out of love, and then you were experiencing love, and you're like, well, this is what God is all about. And that's the relationship that we have. So when you...
I think
Sure.
to be merciful,
Yeah.
you have to have experienced mercy.
Yeah. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And you have to have experienced love
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this is the big part.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that I went there. It just happened because I had to take a lot of help of a lot of
Sure.
people in my childhood.
Sure.
So it was, for me, it was kind of natural. But I can also understand people who are not believing at all and people who are not born to any religion.
Sure.
Especially when they never experienced the mercy,
Yeah.
the love.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can't give what you haven't
Yeah.
received
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just even for the viewers, I think that I hope the take-home message here really is that, because we Muslims, we love to talk about Aqidah, which is sort of the understanding of God's nature and how we are binding to God's nature. So our boundness, Verbindung to God. And Aqidah actually means that. It means to bind in Arabic, right? Arabic, very beautiful language. It means to bind. So how you're binding yourself to God is based upon how you understand of Him. So your understanding of God. So again, I really love the fact that you mentioned that. And I feel like that's far more powerful than me preaching or even reading a book, right? It's like the experience that you make and the action. So in the action you learn,
Yeah.
and then you look at yourself, you look at your surroundings, right? At the farm, right? You're looking at people,
Yeah.
and then you place yourself in a universe and you place them, and then God. So it's like a sort of a triangle, and that's very powerful. And it shows me that you have a lot of spiritual intelligence to dissect that, because a lot of people wouldn't be able to click the two, you know. Yeah, I think it's very powerful.
But I think like you have to kind of come in the position where you have to develop that.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Like I think.
Further explain. What do you mean by that?
For example, when you live a life, you grow up with loving parents, in a good neighborhood. You
Sure.
never have struggles anywhere. Like when you never struggle, and when you never have to question yourself or God or your surroundings,
Sure.
you don't have this consciousness. You know, I really believe that if you want to be compassionate, empathic, it's way easier or even just possible if you experience something like that.
Yeah.
Like when you're, for example, you are 30 years old and you're like working in bank, and before your parents financed your study, you had nice studies, you were maybe playing basketball in your studies, and all your tests went good, and before school was good. Like when you never struggle in your life.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't see the necessity or don't see
The necessity.
they don't search for belief.
I see.
You know.
So they're
I
just
think
perfectly fine, huh?
Yeah. And I'm glad for the people who are perfectly fine. Really.
Sure.
I wish everybody would be perfectly fine. You know. But if you just been perfectly fine all the time, that is great for you. That is really, really good. And I don't say that you can't be empathic when you never struggled in your life. But when you struggled, you learn to be empathic.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like all the people, like also who I met here in Britain, and before I've been volunteering also in Germany.
Yeah.
And all the people I met who were like with the whole heart.
Yeah.
In a kind of project, in a social project, they all had really, really serious struggles before.
Yeah.
And again, I don't say that you can't be like that when you never struggled before.
Yeah.
But it's
more likely.
Way more likely. It's way more likely.
Again, brothers and sisters, I feel like Sister Nina, sorry, I'm putting the English accent to it. Again, you really, this is a very deep insight, and you actually answer the question. You know, there's this guy here who says we shouldn't have any children over there.
Oh yeah.
And he always comes up with his argument is always, well, because of pain. But what you just did there, it's a very profound insight, because you're saying, and it's true, how can you be merciful if you've never been in a position to show mercy? How can you be empathetic if you've never been in a situation where you've experienced it yourself?
Yeah.
And you're basically saying, in a sense, and it's a very Quranic maxim, because Allah tells us about hardship, and He says hardship is there so that there is a test, to test people and to improve people. Sometimes, or fitna, which means fitna, is quite funny, because in a German-speaking world, especially in the hip-hop scene, fitna is a very big term culturally, which means to cause mischievousness, to cause issues, problems.
What does it mean in German?
So when someone says, der hat fitna gemacht, it means he's causing issues and problems.
Ah, okay.
Between, you know, when they have beefs.
He made trouble.
You made trouble.
Yeah.
But fitna is very comprehensive. Fitna also means that which seduces people. So when there's a lot of, so say there's an issue that's very hot and everyone wants to have a part in it. Oh, he said this, he said that. That's what fitna is. But fitna also means it's a purification. So it purifies, because at the end of fitna, I know person you are and you know what person I am. Okay? So it separates the people, you know? And it's very beautiful because that's essentially what you're saying. You're saying, look, I would love to everyone to have a perfect life. But the fact that there are certain people who go through pain enables them to show love. Wow. And it's incredible, honestly. I have to think about this a bit more. Yeah, because he was asking me questions, the guy. Why is pain bad? And I without going into my scripture, right? Without going into religion, I wasn't able to answer it properly. But I think that gives a very good answer to that. Because, you know, I don't know if you've been to like Africa or other places. I've been to Brazil, right? And I went to the favelas. Like, they live in houses this big. And I'm telling you, when I went to the house, the family father, and just about when I was about to leave, he starts crying. And he looks at me and he takes his arm. And he was a bit lighter than me. And he says, look, there's no like differences. I love you. And his hospitality was that, you know, very sentimental, very emotional people. So he was so emotional that I was leaving because he found a new friend in me. And he met me just one day. That's how South Americans are very sentimental like that. But they were regarded in that society one of sort of the lowest. But they have so much to give. And it perhaps comes from that place because they go through this pain and so they can relate to people much better than someone who hasn't.
This is also what I experienced. Like I told you I'm going to Russia.
Sure.
And I've been there like 10 years ago.
Okay.
And 10 years ago I was like, or 11 years ago, I was more a child than a grown up.
Sure.
And it was like the first faraway place I saw.
Yeah.
But when I went there and I was like staying with the family, I just experienced like if the jobs they did, if they did it in Germany, they would be well settled. They would have a house
Sure.
and maybe a garden and 2 cars and stuff. But there it was like they were both working hard in good jobs.
Sure.
And it was just like it was 2 rooms.
Yeah.
And but in the end, like they were offering me so much.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was a family of 5 persons.
Okay.
Like two parents.
Yeah.
3 children. And normally it was like 1 parent room, 1 children, and they all slept
In one room.
in the bed
Wow.
of the parents.
Wow.
Because they wanted me to have a spare room.
Yeah.
You know, and this
Yeah.
is what was kind of part of my journey that I just realized, like, not all the time and not generally, but like, it's kind of like the less people have, the more they want to give.
Wow.
And the more like they were so friendly to me. And
Yeah.
for example, they knew I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
So they said like, okay, we won't eat meat as long as you're here. And then in the night, I came in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And the father, he was like a big guy. Like
Yeah.
he was very tall,
Yeah.
very,
Yeah. Very Russian-like.
very Russian-like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I came into this room in the kitchen because I wanted to go
Yeah.
to the toilet. And I turned off on the light, and he was sitting in the edge of the room had a huge sausage in his hand,
Yeah.
like salami.
Yeah.
And was just biting in it.
Yeah.
And I turned on the light, and he was
So-
like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Oh my God, please
Yeah.
don't be so nice to me."
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming from such a different place, like
Yeah.
I felt so bad. I
Yeah.
felt so bad.
Yeah.
And it was.
But you see that level of hospitality, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's
incredible.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
It's like,
And like the Prophet Muhammad, he talks a lot about this as well. There are particular rules how to treat. And have you been to the Arab world? Because you said you engaged. Well, you've learned a lot about
I
like.
learned a lot about
Yeah.
that, but I haven't been there.
Yeah, but I mean, growing up in Germany, it's naturally you meet a lot of people from.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I meet a lot of people
Yeah.
which roots out there.
Yeah,
But I've
yeah.
never been there.
Sure.
Just like in my studies.
It's incredible. Like so, even the Prophet he talks so much about how to treat the guest. You know, it's such an important thing to do. And you find this in the Bible or in the Quran, for example, the story of Abraham when the angels come. And Abraham in the Quran, so when the angel came, he didn't know they were angels. They were just extremely good-looking man who he thought they were travelers.
Yeah.
They come, and the custom back then was, if a traveler comes, you have to, I know you're vegan, but the sheep that was there, or the goat that was there, gets prepared.
Yeah.
And that hospitality is something that a loads of traditional cultures still have as well. And I believe it's something to do maybe perhaps also with the religion. And I feel like in loads of European countries that was the case at one point as well. That people were very hospitable. I grew up in Germany, as you know, and my family also, at one point we were part of sort of the Catholic community, and they would exhibit that level of hospitality as well, you know, especially when you're like sort of a new immigrant. They would like make sure to help you to find a kindergarten and all that type of stuff. So yeah, it's incredible. It's very similar to my experience in Brazil, that, you know, the story you told me about.
But it's linked to religion.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like also nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I mean, Germany has been a country of immigration for decades. A lot of people forget about it because they say like, oh, the refugee crisis and stuff like that. But actually, like after the World War II, a lot of people came to build Germany up again.
Sure.
You know, and a lot of people forget about that. But also, like I lived in Germany my whole life.
Sure.
And I had to experience, like, from the religious part, like, it doesn't depend on which religion. There was a lot of Hilfsbereitschaft.
Yeah. Help, aid.
There was a lot of help and a lot of compassion and a lot of empathy also. But from the religious people,
Interesting.
They didn't really care.
Sure.
I mean, I don't say they hated them or something.
Yeah.
Some did and do.
Yeah.
But like this kind of helping people to find a new home, to settle down.
Yeah. Very true.
Get everything sorted.
Very true. Very true.
This is always linked to like
Eine Gemeinschaft, religious community. Yeah. It's very true. And I was watching this. It was an interview, a very old interview. I think even from the 90s. It was between. I think so. Don't quote me on it. It was between Jordan Peterson, and he was talking to the representative of the atheist society in Canada. And the atheist, he admits, he says, "Well, we atheists have a problem that we not engage in altruistic initiatives. So we aren't the first one when it comes to charity. We are not the first one when it comes to sort of like building communities. We're not really good at that, you know." And I think that's quite telling, you know. If atheism is sort of like the natural human default position, Standardposition, then why are you lacking at the things that you laugh at these people who believe in spaghetti monsters, but the actions speak differently? And this is what I want to drive home again, and it comes back to what you were saying, when you were in the fields working and helping, and that's as well, like you were connecting with nature, right? And in the Quran, there's loads of these verses where Allah talks about, he talks about agriculture and the fields, and he says, and are they the ones who send the rain down to revitalize the barren land? You know, that's why you find a lot of like, traditionally, a lot of like farmers used to be extremely religious, even in Europe, because their understanding was depending on, if this season goes bad and I don't get enough carrots, then I've really been a bad person. Although it doesn't always work that way, but their connection to the divine was very strong. And some even say, philosophers like Proclus, I believe, he believes that that's where religion comes from, you know. It comes from this, that people were attributing seasons and rain and to gods. But ultimately, they were doing what I do. You know, when you push away all the labels, it was an acknowledgement that yes, there is something higher than us, you know? And I feel like that is missing with a lot of modern people. It's a shame that we've lost that.
But I think like back in the days when
Yeah.
you're talking about the farmers, for example, and there are still farmers today.
Yeah,
But back then they way more dependent
yeah,
on the weather,
yeah,
on the temperature.
yeah,
And right now, like I think like I mean, when you accept the farmers
Yeah.
and accept the people who are like, how do you call it, like who are like making their own plants and fruits. How do you
like
Selbstversorger?
Selbstversorger. Huh? Battery. Oh, okay. Selbstversorger. Self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you pull out the self-sufficient people and the farmers,
Yeah.
you have like 99% maybe of the society left.
Yeah.
And the 99% don't depend on the weather at all.
Yeah.
They don't depend on how warm it is. They don't depend on that the first freezing is not coming
Yeah.
before April,
Yeah.
after April.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't depend on it anymore.
Yeah.
They go into shops,
Yeah.
they buy online. It's like everything's always available.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't depend on nature anymore.
Yeah.
They think that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see that it's different.
Yeah.
Because like there are droughts and there are people dying by floods.
Yeah.
And there are like a lot of things. But in the daily life,
Yeah.
like I would really say less than 1% of the people on Earth depend on nature.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is the point. I
Yeah.
think this is
Yeah.
the dividing point. Because if you're an atheist, for example, you look into nature. On Earth, nothing gets lost.
Yeah.
Every leaf falling down the tree, every animal dying, it's going into another process. Nothing gets
It's lost. There's like a circular. Yeah.
So, I mean, the discussion about death and stuff is a really big thing.
Sure.
But I believe on Earth nothing gets lost. And this is what a lot of people don't really see or don't really appreciate.
Yeah.
Because they're so far away from what, like, we couldn't build this street
Yeah.
if the people before wouldn't have known how to get it from nature,
Sure.
how to get the materials.
Sure,
how
sure.
to, you know.
Sure. Because we ran out, the battery's running. Trust me, I think we could have done this for another 2 hours. The brothers and sisters, this is Nena. Beautiful soul. Thank you for coming here and sharing your experience.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. I hope that we can really learn from this. I find this, she was my teacher today. I was really learning a lot of like things. It made me think about a lot of things. Thank you. Yeah, brothers and sisters, keep on, keep watching this. We have campaigns coming very soon to fund this, because obviously we need, monetary help to make this happen. And you can see we're really, really hard trying to create a space where anyone from any walks of life can come and share what they think, how the world works, and we sort of can exchange and have a dialogue. Just today, to update you, unfortunately, there was really skirmishes and fighting going on and this and that. But for the viewers out there, be assured that these situations are prevalent and they're happening all the time. And this is really where focus and attention should be paid. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Nena. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Ich danke, super. Hammer, ehrlich jetzt. Sehr, sehr krass. Sehr, sehr krass. Nee, super natürlich, hat geflossen. Da gab es keine Momente, wo wir standen und nicht wussten, was wir sagen. Danke, vielen Dank.
Danke.
Ja. Und
Läuft das noch?
ja, wahrscheinlich, weiß es nicht. Ja, es ist okay. Ja. Du bist 2 Wochen weg, oder?
Ja, also ich bin jetzt noch 3 Tage in London. Dann arbeite ich noch
Sorry.
1,5 Wochen. Und dann